What's up, people? Almost certainly real here. We are going to do a Rogue Towers tier list. If you've played this game quite a lot, I think you know what the top of the board is going to look like. There are some pretty good towers in the current patch. I think there is a balanced patch coming out soon, which will be fun. Shift up the meta a little bit. But we're going to go left to right here down on the bottom. Check out these different towers. The Ballista up first. I like it. You unlock that first in the game, and I just like the Ballista. It's good value. You get a lot out of it. You can use it to target stuff down. It gets a nice slow. I'm putting the Ballista solidly in B tier. There's definitely better towers, but this it's like the tower next door. Very comfortable. Every tower defense game, you've got your arrow tower. It's got a little bit of interesting stuff. It can get a slow. You can upgrade it, target other things. I like it. I like the Ballista. Big fan. The Frost Keep. Up next. Where does that go? I like it. I do like it. It's not quite AoE. It's like Frozen. If you've ever played Diablo 2, it's like Frozen Orb, and that there's a lot of little particles. And as long as there's not that many enemies, it kind of works like an AoE tower. You know what? I'm putting it in C for now. It can get overwhelmed with lots of enemies, and that tends to be the problem in this game, is kind of getting overwhelmed by lots of enemies. There is not that many single target challenges. Maybe the first couple oogies, depending on what you get. But I'm going to put it in C for now. I might bump this up to B. I do really enjoy it. It's a fun tower. One thing to keep in mind from my testing is that the range is actually really important. It seems to spawn more little snowflakes the more area that's being covered. So it seems to spawn sort of a fixed number of snowflakes for every piece of road that it is covering. I like it. I'm tempted to bump it up into B tier, but we've got a lot of really, really good towers left. Speaking of which, the Flame Tower. This is going in here. It's not going to go in S, that's for sure. It's going in A or B. AoE damage. It applies a debuff. It attacks fast, which scales well with universities and does well with upgrades. Ooh. It does feel like it is a bit better than the Ballista. I feel like maybe I'm trapping myself with this tier list by putting the Ballista so high. We'll put it in A tier. We might put some other stuff there in A tier. You can't go wrong. You can't go wrong with the Flame Tower, especially if you got some other towers in the mix. Yeah, it is a great tower. Speaking of great towers, the Shredder. The Shredder's interesting. So the Shredder will go flying down a pathway. And if you watch, you'll notice it does less damage as it kind of goes flying down the pathway and eventually disappears. So it does, I think, 1 less damage every time it hits an enemy. Very solid. It does bleed damage as well. And it's a very satisfying tower. It's not as good as the Flame Tower. If we're to be honest, you can't get that insane AoE damage out of control type thing that you get with the Flame Tower. I'm putting it in B though. It is solidly in B. It is amazing. You can pump a lot of upgrades into it and it will do well for you. One of the more interesting towers now, the Lookout Tower. Okay, so this tower is very unique. So what it does is it takes and it adds the damage on this tower, the Lookout Tower, the damage it does, and the multiplier it does, and the crit it does, and it adds it to the tower that is attacking. If I'm not mistaken, I did use it a little bit. The problem with this is I really want to put I really want to put this like in S tier, because the way that damage scales in this game is that there's a lot of multiplication, because you have your base damage, you have that multiplied by your health, armor, or shield damage, and then you have that multiplied by your crit. And if you are familiar with multiplication, it gets better. You take some big numbers, you multiply them together, you get an even bigger number than if you had taken two smaller numbers and multiplied them together. For example, if we were to take 4 times 4 would be 16, but 2 times 2 is 4, and 4 plus 4 is 8. There's a math lesson for you. Unfortunately, there's just single target isn't really relevant in the game. I did use it once. I don't think I really needed to use it. I used it when I was doing a damage over time run. And I really would love to put, in the current state of the game, unfortunately, it's going down in D tier. Just, it's not quite worth getting. Yeah, would really love to put this higher. I did put, to be honest, I probably put the Ballista a little higher than it ought to be, but we're going to put the Lookout down there in D tier. Very fun, though. I like to play around with it. I think you could get some insane damage numbers going for single shots, but just you don't need it at the moment. So we've got an interesting tower. The Tesla. S tier. If you've tried it and you weren't impressed, it needs a little bit of money to get going. And then it gets going, and you give it a little bit more money, and it gets out of control very quickly. It is, you can win a lane with a Tesla tower extremely easily with only a Tesla tower. I was actually able, I have the video up? I think I have the video up. If not, I will upload it soon. I did a run where I reset my upgrades, and then I started the run, and I was able to beat the game, get all the way through level 45, and I really did that on the back of the Tesla tower. I'll be curious once the new patch comes out if I'll be able to do it something similar. I don't think so. It is amazing. It's almost, I honestly, I'm glad. To be honest, I wrote it off very early because I bought one, or I had seen someone else playing and they bought it and it didn't do very well. And I had just written it off, and I played the game without the Tesla tower, and I honestly think it's funner without the Tesla tower because it's too broken. I think you progress too quickly, and you just kind of end up sitting there sort of watching your Tesla tower kill stuff. So there's going to be a patch coming out soon, I think, doing a bit of balancing, so I'm excited for that. But if you're just starting out the game, I would almost recommend not using it, or don't go crazy on dumping upgrades into a single Tesla, because it is out of control. Obelisk, F. You don't need single target. It uses up shit tons of mana. It's expensive. The Obelisk and the Lookout Tower, I want to have a reason to combo these together. I want to have a reason to buy these because I feel like that would go out of control. The Obelisk shoots insanely fast. And if you add that flat damage coming in from that Lookout Tower, wow. I think you could get absolutely nutty single target damage, but it is irrelevant at the moment. Mortar. Classic. Where are you gonna go? If I put the crossbow in B, I kind of have to put the mortar in B. Solid AoE damage. It's great early. You're going to have some armor damage you need to do. It's going to do that armor damage for you. It's going to do it in an area of effect. You can increase that area of effect. You can apply burn. Can you apply poison? I think you can apply poison and bleed and burn. All very important. If you're struggling with the game, there are a lot of things that regenerate life, shields, and armor, And if you have damage over time, it completely negates that regeneration. So that's one of the first things I look for in a run is how do I get my dots up? How do I get my burn, bleed, and poison going? And mortar, great. I haven't used it, to be honest, I used it a lot when I first played through because it was already unlocked. It's great. A classic tower defense. Maybe a little bit boring. Maybe a little bit boring compared to some of the other kind of area of effect stuff going on. But I like it. It's going in B tier. Encampment, another easy F. Every day of the week I put the encampment in the F tier. It is bad. I kind of like the idea of it. You could pick it up, maybe put it right before your final tower. Clean up sort of the scragglers, stuff that makes it through your other defenses. But just if you unlock it and then it unlocks its upgrades, and that costs a card just to unlock it, and then now you've got all these other cards you don't want to buy because it's just not very good, and you're better off investing your money and your card draw elsewhere. I like the idea. I don't see any point where you're getting it in its current state. And even if it gets upgraded, it's just like I think you're just better off investing in other towers, right? It's not like, oh, this would be cool if we got single target damage. I don't really see, unless it gets some buffs and it can start doing some real good AoE damage, I could see maybe that happening. But as it stands, I don't see myself using these encampments anytime soon. Now, the plane. I really like the plane. I like it. It's kind of a very kind of inconsistent damage. You can't really rely on it, but it does a lot of damage, especially when all those attacks hit. I'm going to put it in D tier. Just given the way the card draw system works, I don't think you can fit it in. Unless you're playing for fun. I respect that. I like the idea of kind of this a tower where you're maybe not going to invest a whole lot of money into it. You're not going to spend a crazy amount of upgrades on it, but it's going to do some work for you. You maybe get a couple of them just to mix it up a bit. And you can put it on most health or most armor, maybe most shields. I forget. I've played with them a little bit. Not sure exactly what their initial damage type is. One thing I think I might like to see changed is the way the kind of upgrade system works with the damage types. Right now it feels like at the very beginning of the game you kind of have to pay attention, being like, hey, I got to get my mortar up to deal with the armor. But eventually you can just kind of upgrade anything into doing any kind of damage. Like with the Tesla Tower, right? It starts out with terrible armor damage, but you can just dump some points into the armor, and it'll chew right through that. So that's one thing I think would be interesting. Maybe if somehow through the upgrade process it was more efficient to upgrade to kill the damage type. Right now, it really feels like you kind of just want to go deep into some AoE tower, right? Your Tesla, your Flame Tower, just dump upgrades into those, and that's just going to end up doing enough single target damage that you don't have to worry about it. And the AoE level 40, if you've made it there, there's things that spawn things that spawn things, and it gets crazy with units. Super fun. And now the Poison Sprayer. The Poison Sprayer, realistically, it should be between S and A tier. We'll put it in front of the... to be honest, I have not really been doing any sort of order in these lists, but it is better than the Flame Tower. The Tesla is better than the Poison Tower by more than the Poison Tower is better than the Flame Tower, though. So the Poison Tower, and it's not necessarily actually that it's the tower, it's that there is Creeping Cough, I believe the upgrade is called, and that upgrade is insane. It adds slow for poison damage done. So this poison guy is basically just a Flame Tower that also has a free slow built in. Also, poison damage, shield damage is probably worth more overall. Armor between 30, I think in 30 and 36, roughly in that area. You do want to have some armor damage, but at the end of the game, poison damage, health damage, that the shield and health sort of are going to be what cause you to lose. And then particle cannon, yeah, straight into F. Single target, doesn't seem very high DPS overall. Partially there because you don't really need single target damage in this game. But honestly, even if single target became a thing, I really think like lookouts would be super fun. Obelisks would be okay. Maybe I think one thing that would be cool is if there was some more unique upgrades for different towers. So there are definitely a lot of really unique towers that act differently, but their upgrade paths are fairly similar. So maybe like something with the particle cannon that could switch it up, give it some sort of unique ability would be cool in the upgrade tree. As it stands, you don't need single target damage. If you did need single target damage, I think there's better ways to get it. And I think that this is a pretty good tier list. I think there's some gaps maybe here where we should have another tier and the flame should be below the poison. I like the ballista in B. I'm tempted to bump the frost keep up, but I feel like we got a lot of stuff in B, and I'd put these guys above the frost keep, especially because you can get slow from poison. I think that's part of the problem, is that yeah, getting slow in your ballista, that's super cool, and getting your frost keep, but you can get slow kind of easily because you can get it from poison. And I think that's like something I don't know that I love, because I think it takes away sort of from the uniqueness of sort of your frost towers. The idea that kind of, you got to invest in your slow, that's something that doesn't come for free. And especially because I do really like the frost tower in terms of that kind of, it is kind of AoE in that it spawns a lot of these little snowflakes, but they can get overwhelmed. If you have a lot of enemies coming through one area quickly, your slow will run out. And I like that. I like that it has a unique mechanic. And I would love, Lookout Tower, I'd love to put you in A tier. I would. I really, I'm going to bump it up to C just because I like it. I like the idea of the tower. And I think it could get kind of crazy with the obelisk, which is an F tier. But you don't need the single target damage. Anyways, if you're interested, I stream on Twitch. There's also some other Rogue Tower videos here. Thanks for stopping by, and I will post a link to this tier list. So if you guys want to do your own tier list, you can do that. Post it in the comments, and I will probably, maybe, do another tier list once the new patch comes out. Thanks for stopping by.